Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Digger Dawson. We are at Legacy Studios in East Liverpool, and we are going to talk the funeral industry, which has been a passion of mine for a number of years, and you know it to be a fact. And we were talking earlier about some of the great names that have been a big part of my life, and one in particular, Alvin Batchelor. So talk about the connection of Beaver County's legend that is Alvin Batchelor and your great father.
Well, we were talking here before we started to roll the cameras. We were all in the ambulance business. Funeral homes had an ambulance because we were the only ones that had vehicles that were capable of carrying passengers in a reclining position. So that's why all the funeral homes were in the ambulance business. That kind of broke up in about late 60s because the Federal Trade Commission came with some pretty tough rules and regulations relative to the time spent working and the time waiting to be engaged. So most of the funeral homes got out of the ambulance business. And we also talked about funeral homes being in the furniture business.
Yes, because I was mentioning J.T. Anderson's Funeral Home for years, and also Batchelor's, meaning Batchelor's Funeral Home and Furniture Company at the Beaver Valley Mall for years, and on Pennsylvania Avenue in Monaco. So why?
And another would be Charlie Wilson, our late congressman from Bridgeport. They still do have their furniture store because the furniture business took the same talent as it took to make caskets, and so as a result, they had a casket manufacturing facility here and a funeral home here.
So one was for minimal rest and the other one was for eternal rest. Is that right? Hey, but I do love this industry, and I have so many friends that are in it, and they all know who they are. But what is it about someone like me who would dare to dream to actually be a Frank Dawson? I mean, I could actually see myself being a funeral director, although it takes a lot of education and a lot of time and a lot of passion. But what I also love about the funeral business, they're always engaged in the community, Rotary, Lions Club, just helping local charities, local student athletes and sporting events and educational aspects of the community. Why are they so involved? Is that just how you were taught, or does that come with the territory?
I think it's kind of in our DNA, and the idea of being in the funeral service is really being in the hospitality business. Service Corporation International, which is the largest funeral home chain in the world, 2,200 funeral homes, they're now going to the Cornell School of Hotel and Business Management. They're not looking for funeral directors. They're looking for people who are gifted in the field of the hospitality. So it's part of the DNA of the person that goes into the work, that it wants to be helpful. It's a calling to help people.
And only I would say the following. It really is the total package. Someone that dresses the part and actually takes you to that final resting place in a beautiful limousine. I've often said people deserve the best on that final goodbye. Do you still think that is a big part of what you do, or do you see that changing? And I know one thing, I always look to those who really give their best when helping someone say goodbye.
Well, that's true, and as I say, it's a calling. There was an article in one of the Pittsburgh papers featuring the Lanigan Funeral Home and the Weinheimer Funeral Home within the last week relative to cremation and the onslaught of cremation, which is happening. But as a funeral director, we feel it's our responsibility to make the final part of a person's life a memorable experience. Cremation is an option, burial is an option, but the fact that we're able to give people in death very often what many of them don't have in life.
Amen.
A ceremony, a religious feeling, a feeling of something beyond this life, and a tribute to the person that's passed away while reinforcing the family's emotions.
And I'll tell you, the church service, whether it be such as a Roman Catholic church or an Episcopal church, Presbyterian, Lutheran, or even a synagogue. And there was a synagogue here in East Liverpool for a number of years, and Ben Feldman, obviously a big part of that, just another great name in the city of Pittsburgh and also this region when it comes to insurance. And we're going to come back in a couple of moments and talk about a number of these people who have matriculated to the Lou Holtz Upper Ohio Valley Hall of Fame. But before we do that, I just have one thing to say about the funeral industry. I appreciate it I hope that others do as well, because I think that there is a service that a funeral director and a funeral home gives to someone at a time of bereavement that a lot of people don't understand as it's happening. But it's helping have a closure. It's that comforting, helping hand, if you will, for the living, as opposed to more for those that have already passed. So just understand, when it comes to the funeral industry, there's much more to it than meets the eye. And I'm going to end on this note about the funeral industry. Your dad to you, and now to your beautiful daughter Belinda, your son Dyke, and Jim Dunlap, obviously your son-in-law. Boy, there's that tradition there. So you really have passed the baton. But let's go back to your dad on what he told you and helped you with that obviously has made your funeral home, my opinion, outstanding.
Well, my father emphasized one word: sentiment. Sentiment. It was sentiment that built the Taj Mahal. It was sentiment that built the Great Pyramids in Egypt. And it's sentiment that built the funeral industry as we know it in the United States. When we lose sentiment, we've lost it all. If all we do is embalm a body, put it in the casket, and put it in a hole in the ground, we haven't come up to our responsibility to match the family's sentiments. Mm-hmm. How many times have we as funeral directors stood by and watched a grieving widow or a bereaved parent say, "I love you," to a person that they could never say when that person was alive? That's the crust of funeral service.
You know, and I'll tell you, every night I take a nightly stroll in Monaca, and I find myself always walking by Alvin Baxter's funeral home, and the one light that is left on is where the embalming room was. And I've said this many times when I have passed. Think about night after night. You, Danny Ibbs, many others, week after week, month after month, year after year, when families are celebrating holidays and gathering or down for a nice evening's rest or sleep, there's some funeral director, mortician out there doing what they do best, helping that family get ready to take a journey that obviously they don't want to take, but we all do at times in our life. And it's nice to know that people like the Dawson Funeral Home are there to hold your hand through that journey. Job well done, sir.
Thank you, Rob.
I'm truly a fan of Frank Digger Dawson. I am. I should start a fan club. Anyway, coming up, folks, speaking of fan clubs, Dominic Musey Jr. is going to join us on the wonderful AT&T Entertainment line tonight, the mayor of Steubenville. Dean Martin, of course, the 100th birthday celebration with the parade coming up. And Dina Martin, his daughter, will be the Grand Marshal. She was here when Dina was enshrined in the Upper Ohio Valley Hall of Fame. And that's what we're talking about next at Legacy Studios in East Liverpool. Please stick with us.